I've been asked why I don't fertilize my containers like Mr. Leon fertilizes. So let me show you what I do differently from him and tell you why. So how I differ from Mr. Leon. He puts, as I remember it, and I may be a little wrong, he puts a half a cup of fertilizer in the tub when he's filling it up. He gets his soil up so far, puts about a half a cup of an organic fertilizer in it with some sea mineral and I think some lime and things like that. My procedure is kind of a hybrid of that and Earthbox. The Earthbox system worked real well for me and has worked real well all over the world. So I decided to do kind of a cross between the two. So here's what I do. Instead of putting a quarter cup of fertilizer in mine, like Mr. Leon does, and he puts his down here and mixes it in and then fills it up the rest of the way with soil, I fill mine up about a halfway. I put a pound of lime in it. That's what Earthbox recommends. So I do what Earthbox says there, about a pound of lime, mix it in real good when it's about half full, and then I fill it the rest of the way up, and then I'll add some other additives. Usually I'll put a 10-20-10. If I'm doing granular, I'll do a 10-20-10 around the edge of the bucket. I kind of make a trench, kind of bring the soil into the middle and make a trench around the outside of the bucket, and then put a pound of 10-20-10 in there. I like the 10-20-10 because the middle number, the 20, is what gives you blooms. Gives you blooms and fruit. So the 10-20-10 works real well as my initial fertilizer. Then I'll tell you what I do later, but my initial fertilizer is 10-20-10 on anything that will bloom. And I think the 10, the nitrogen, the first number is nitrogen. I believe that's enough to give you some good green growth. As you can see, I have got some amazing, these are brand new canes. They're about 3 feet tall and they're about 2 weeks old. So they're growing crazy. And so I do that. I put the lime in there. I put the 10-20-10 in there. If it's a tomato or something like that, I do a little bit different. I'll put some something to stop blossom end rot, like a granulated pelleted gypsum. That just will just stop blossom end rot, which is a big thing in tomatoes and peppers and stuff. But in these, I don't do that. So I've got a larger initial fertilizing than Mr. Leon does. But what Leon says do for everybody is to, every time you water it, put a teaspoon or a tablespoon, I can't remember exactly what he said, of fertilizer down the hole when you water it. Well, in the summertime with these huge plants, and even a big tomato plant full of tomatoes, you got to water that thing just about every day. And most people don't realize, but now, again, I'm in Texas, but when it's hot, these things suck up a lot of water. If they're making berries, if they're making fruit, if they're making tomatoes and peppers, stuff like that, they need a lot of water. So in the summertime, that means every time I water, I've got to put something down the hole. And I just don't want to do that. So now he uses a injection system, which I have one too, but I still don't think it's necessary because I fertilize heavier in the initial process, in the initial planting. So my initial planting, I get a 10-20-10 or whatever's commensurate for the plant that I'm planting. But on something that flowers, that blooms, like these blackberries, I'm going to do a 10-20-10. And then later on, after they become established, after they really start getting going good, then I will come in here with some of Haas Tools 20-20-20 water soluble, and I'll put a tablespoon, or a little more than a tablespoon actually, down the hole. These hold about 3 gallons of water. I do that about every 10 days or so. Did that last year. Mine went crazy. I'll show you some pictures, some video of what they looked like last year. They don't look like it this year because the freeze just tore them up. but they're still here. They're still growing. They didn't hurt the roots, because those roots are going crazy putting out new shoots. That's all new growth. So but boy, it hurt the canes that were already up and viable and would have been producing a lot of berries right now. So a larger initial fertilizing than Mr. Leon does, but then I don't come in here every day when I water. I don't come in there every day with fertilizer. I figure that 10-20-10 around the ring is going to last quite a while. In the earth box, it lasts for an entire season. Now, they don't say a year, they say a season, which means spring or fall garden. You need to refertilize if you're going to do a fall garden. So, but a season would be, let's say, 4 to 6 months. So really, I would think after 2 months, after you plant them, 2 months later, then you might start adding something down the hole. Now that's my thinking, and let me be quick to say, Mr. Leon knows a whole lot more about gardening than I do, and he has I can't even tie his shoelaces. I mean, he's a gardening wizard. So I'm not discounting what he says. I'm just saying I have found that with a larger initial fertilizing, and this again I do with my vegetables too, not just fruit, not just berries, not just fruit trees, but with a larger initial fertilizing, I don't see the need of fertilizing down the hole every time. I believe that ring of fertilizer is going to last a long time. A pound of fertilizer is a lot of fertilizer. Now, if your plants have spread out a lot if it's the second or third year and your plants are starting to encroach toward the outside, then I don't know that I would put a pound of fertilizer real close to it. If you got a shoot coming up here or here or something like that, I wouldn't just put a pound of fertilizer in it. So this is for the initial planting. This is not, when you're going to put one square in the middle of it, then you can go around the ring. Now the second year, which is this year for me, I'm going to put, I haven't used any 10-20-10. I'm using strictly 20-20-20 down the hole. So the second year you may want to just skip the granular fertilizer altogether, or add it sparingly, because you're going to probably have some shoots coming up way out here, and you don't want to put that fertilizer right on that new shoot that's coming up. You burned a dog out of it probably. Now something else I do, and I think it's very important, I cannot see down into that reservoir. So I think that there's a possibility that 20-20-20, that blue 20-20-20 water soluble fertilizer could possibly just fall down that tube and sit on the bottom and not dissolve all that well, or take a long time to dissolve. And it could be that it would just clump there on the bottom. So I always come back immediately after I drop the fertilizer down in. I'll do all the tubs, and then I will come back and water down that tube. That's doing several things. It will, any residual fertilizer that's stuck on that tube on the way down, it'll wash that down into the reservoir. Also, the force of the water going down the tube will stir that up. We'll stir up the fertilizer down in the bottom. Now just water it in real good until you see it coming out the bottom. You don't want to waste your fertilizer and have it coming out of the weep hole. So as soon as you see it start coming out of the weep hole, turn your water off and you're done. And I believe that's enough to stir that fertilizer up, incorporating it into that water in the bottom reservoir of all your wicking tubs or earth boxes. Works the same way. I do the same with earth boxes. I do the same way with wicking tubs in my vegetable garden too. If I fertilize down the hole, I always come back with water to keep it from clumping there on the bottom and helping to distribute it throughout the reservoir. I think that's important, so don't skip that step. So that's the way I fertilize. That's what I do. It's worked well for me. It worked well for my fruit trees. They went crazy last year, and my blackberries went even crazier. So I really think it works well. And again, Mr. Leon has got me beat as a gardener 9 ways to Sunday, but I'm just telling you what worked well for me: vegetables and fruit. So I do my, he doesn't grow, I haven't seen him grow any blackberries. I've seen him grow, I think, fig trees, but not blackberries in wicking tubs. So what he would do in blackberries, I don't know. I don't know exactly what he would do, but I do know that this worked for me, and it doesn't require me coming out here every stinking day and putting a teaspoon in every stinking tub. So I use the fertilizer injector a lot, and that will get me like every 10 days. I'll just put a cup or probably a pound of the pound or more of the 20-20-20 in the injector, and then I'll way I've got it set here, I've got my irrigation set, and it'll feed from the top. My dripper, my emitter, about right there. I could have it with a line going down into the hole, but I just don't see any sense in it, especially since I'm fertilizing the 20-20-20. I just wanted, I think I like the fact that it just drifts, just soaks down through it before it gets to the water reservoir. I've also got the 20-20-20 going to my trees out here in the orchard, and I've got a cutoff. That blue thing you see right in the middle of your screen is a cutoff, so I can do this and not do the trees out there, or I can do the trees out there and not do this and this. So it depends on what they need. I fixed my irrigation system to where I can cut off a valve or two and do what I need to do, fertilize what I need to fertilize. All right. Whew, I think I covered everything. Now, on the vegetables, I do the same thing, except I do add for vegetables that are prone to blossom end rot. I do add the pelleted gypsum, and I usually put a tablespoon or so of Epsom salt in there, and I use that MicroBoost, and that's something else I do here. MicroBoost in these. MicroBoost. I love it. It's from Haas Tools. I've got a link below. It's my associate link to Haas. If you go to Haas, I would appreciate you using it. It lets them know that I sent you, and that their support of me and faith in me is well placed. Anyway, Haas Tools MicroBoost. Man, I think that is the success story of my garden last year, of my berries last year, of my fruit trees last year, was that MicroBoost. That and the 20-20-20, you talk about some high octane, get after it kind of stuff. That's good stuff. All right. Hopefully you don't have any questions, and I have kind of answered that. Fertilize heavily when the initial planting, not the first of the year, because I'm not going to come in here this year and ring that with 10-20-10. I may sprinkle some on top, but it's going to take it a while to get through that mulch, if it does at all. But if it's an initial planting, I plant the plant right in the center and the fertilizer around the ring, and therefore it's not close to the initial planting. That's what I did here. I think on this one I put the Haas 543. I'm really not sure. I don't remember. I think I put the 543 organic fertilizer in these. But put the plant right in the middle, fertilize the ring, lime underneath, because the pH of potting mix of peat, which is a large percentage of the potting mix, the pH of peat is about 4.5 to 5.5, and you want to get it up to around 6.5 or 7 for blackberries. So get that pH up with the lime. I put a pound of lime in each one of these, and that just looks like a lot of lime, but these hold a little bit more soil than an earth box, and that's what you put in an earth box, and you can grow the dog out of stuff in an earth box. Anyway, hope that made sense. Hope I helped everybody, and if not, ask me a question and I'll be glad to answer it. All right, we're gone.